Greetings, and today I have another Gwent related video for you guys. So this video was actually a bit of an impromptu video. It's actually not one that I was planning on making, but then when I realized that we were so close to the end of the season, I have to make this video because I did say at the end of the month I would talk about sort of next month's plans, like stuff like that. Like cards I would think should get changed in the next month, but this one is a bit different because a lot of things are happening, and instead of, you know, I think before I did a special, like I did like custom cards for like the cards I think that should get changed. This time I'm just sort of gonna talk about it. So, you know, for most of this video, you guys can just really, you know, if you guys don't need to watch this video, you just need to, if you guys like want to hear my take on it, you can just listen. I'm not gonna have any sort of background music on this one, at least not yet, because I'm still working on some audio tracks that I'm asking my brother to make for me. So, you know, that's still a bit hold, so it'll still be a bit quiet. The music I've been using so far, it's gone. I don't know where it's gone. It's just gone. I can't use it. So that music's gone for me. So I can't use it. I'll have to change it to something else. Anyway, I just found that music a bit too dark anyway. So, you know, maybe something a bit more light mood, I guess, like better mood, I suppose. So yeah, it'll be a bit quiet. It'll just be me talking. So if you guys just want to, like, you know, minimize the window, but still listen to me and do what you need to do, then that'd be pretty cool too. That's what I do sometimes when I watch update videos, is if, you know, if they have no music in the background or anything, or it's like if they're not showing anything important. Oh, except for this one part where I will sort of scroll through Reddit. I'm gonna be scrolling through Reddit. I'll be scrolling through one article that Team Bandit Gang made, and of course the Play Gwent website, because there is something there, if you guys haven't seen it yet, that I will go through and try to analyze and sort of give my take on it. So yeah, first of all, if you guys are new, I do know we are still getting a couple new players, especially with the Steam release coming out just recently. You guys subscribe to this channel if you guys want to see some Gwent content, and of course leave a like at the end, or probably now if you guys did enjoy this video. So the first thing I want to talk about is the channel. As you guys can tell, I did not upload for the last 4 days, and I just uploaded a video. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the last deck video because the season is about to end and changes will be coming, hopefully. So I won't be making any more deck videos until that countdown sort of finishes, just to see whatever it is on the other side. And yeah, so this will probably be, yeah, so this will be uploaded the day after. So when this gets uploaded, there'll still be slightly less than 24 hours left until that countdown stops. So don't think anything should happen tomorrow, so you guys will sort of have a day to listen to my thoughts on it until it becomes irrelevant. So state of the channel, that's what I want to go through. Gwent deck videos are still up and running. I still have plenty of deck video guides, ideas, stuff in mind, so I have them all written down on the list. I do share them on the Discord, on my Discord, so if you guys haven't joined me yet, please do. It'll be in the description below as always, and you guys can also follow me on Twitter. You can send me deck suggestions as well. I'm still currently working on one that was sent to me. You know, I need to make some changes on that deck just because I feel like that deck is a bit too heavy on what it's meant to do. So I'll be making changes on that, and I'll be uploading that in a future video, probably by next season. So Gwent Witcher 3 playthrough is still happening. The reason why I just haven't done too much Witcher 3 uploading is because I took a break from content creating for the weekend because it was the Gwent Open. Speaking of the Gwent Open, I'll just get it out of the way. It's a very brief sort of take from me, plus the article that we'll be seeing later, is that congratulations to Demarcation for winning the Gwent Open Challenge. It was a lot of fun to watch, honestly. Like, I was playing GTA 5 while watching the Gwent Open Challenge, so I was sort of doing two things at once. Just sort of listening to the gameplay, listening to the commentary, watching, sort of going back and forth between my laptop for watching the stream and playing the game, of course. So it was a lot of fun to watch. A lot of really good plays. They're really strong players. Those are like the types of people that like a lot of, you know, you guys probably want to strive to become. But, you know, with only 8 of the best Gwent players in the world, it is pretty insane. Was on that Open Challenge. I'm sure there's a lot more coming through for sure. Next month we're gonna do this again, so I might take another weekend off from content creating on that weekend to watch the Open Challenge. Not to mention catch up on some things. So Witcher 3 playthrough is still happening. I know it doesn't get as many views as my Gwent deck guides because obviously most of you guys, probably 90% of you guys are here just for the Gwent content creation. There's like the 10% of you guys who really care. I mean, I'm not saying that none of like the rest of you don't care at all, otherwise you guys wouldn't be watching my videos, but I mean, like, you know, care enough to the point where if I post something random, something unknown, it's like, you know, you guys will still be there, and I really appreciate you guys, so thank you so much for that. So it'll still happen. We are still celebrating. That is sort of a celebration to the 5-year anniversary of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, so that has to happen, and I will be completing that project regardless of how long it takes. My goal obviously is to get it finished by the time Cyberpunk comes out, because I'll be doing Cyberpunk right after. So if Witcher 3 playthrough gets traffic, like people start watching it, more people start watching it, and they want to see more gameplay of like other games and stuff, I might need to start creating a second channel, which will be crazily insane because that's already tough. It's already tough to cover 1. Imagine having to cover 2. That's gonna be crazy insane. But if people ask for it, then I'll do it. You know, it's a lot of fun. So that's about everything I need to say about the status of the channel. And yeah, I guess we can move on to the next topic. So the next thing that we'll cover will be sort of my take on cards that should get changed. Like I said, I do a top 5 list of cards that I hope or should get changed in the season after. With this one, it'll be a little bit different. I guess it'll just be me sort of briefly going through them, just because, again, this is probably going to be the most dense update video that I have done up until this point. So, you know, I can only cover so much at a given amount of time because I don't want to ramble on for half an hour and you guys just sort of getting bored, falling asleep with my boring voice. I'm still trying to find sort of what I'm going to be on camera, because it's not something I'm used to, and I'm still not used to it, even though I've been making deck guide videos for quite a few months now. So yeah. So card/mechanic/archetypes that I think should be changed. Harmony is an interesting one, and the reason why I say this is because Harmony is one of those mechanics that just sort of adds to the strength of an already well cohesive faction. Like, I have never seen a faction as cohesive as scoia'tael, and that's the reason, and that's probably why I'm thinking that scoia'tael decks got banned so much in the Gwent Open tournament. In the Gwent Open tournament last weekend, like, a lot of scoia'tael decks were being banned, and for good reason too. So the thing with scoia'tael is a lot of their decks are like based off control, really. Like, if you really take a look at the packages of cards they have, a lot of them are control based. Like, they're damaging units, they're boosting units in hand. And honestly, this kind of brings me back to a video that I watched from Swim, where it's like what makes a card game a good card game, and how decks are sort of distinguished in card games. And scoia'tael is a really good example of a deck that focuses on control / boosting. So it's actually very insane, and a lot of their special cards actually help with harmony units. Like, what I'm thinking off the top of my head is like Waters of Broccolon summons 2 harmony units, which just gets stronger and stronger over time. You got Milva, which can boost for every scoia'tael unit, which is essentially harmony. Like, that's pretty much harmony in a nutshell. Only I think it'd be a bit more powerful because you're actually getting boosted by 1 every time. Not to mention, she's immune, so that's actually pretty insane. She is slow to start off with, but she's a pretty slow engine, but, you know, an engine nonetheless, and that can be fit into pretty much any scoia'tael deck because of her ability to get boosted with every scoia'tael unit that gets played. You have the Elven Swarm deck, which again is another sort of classification of card decks. You have Control, Swarm, mid-range, you know, stuff like that. And scoia'tael pretty much fits the description of those very basic deck archetypes. And again, Harmony just sort of adds that, you know, extra bit of oomph to the strength that scoia'tael already has. So I think that's why it is really hard to find out how to balance scoia'tael, I think, from the perspective of a developer, just because of sort of how they're actually played. Like, scoia'tael as a faction in itself, like, if you minus the harmony, scoia'tael can still be a relatively decent faction. Again, they have the ability to move, the ability to disrupt, they have ability to poison. Not as much, of course, because if they had as much poison potential as Nilfgaard did, then scoia'tael would be the faction that everyone would hate. Of course, apart from Nilfgaard. But so how to change harmony? That's gonna be a bit tough to say, actually. Like, I would say, like, you'd want to give units that aren't as well, what do you call it? Not as well rounded, sort of, I guess, as units that already have Harmony, like for one example is Sursa. For those of you who don't know, Sursa is a 4 power card with 8 provisions, I believe. You deal 2 damage to a unit, and on, I think if you kill it, you can boost a random unit, or is it just a unit? I can't remember, but you boost a unit in your hand by 2. She is a specific card that pretty much works with hand buff, and hand buff is one of those, I wouldn't say special decks, but it's definitely not a deck that you see played too often versus like a Mystic Echo, Control, Poison, whatever kind of deck. You know what I mean? And your finisher is always going to be a Great Oak. Like Great Oak will always be there as a finisher. So that is just what it is with Harmony. You could say that scoia'tael really is the mid-range faction because you got Harmony that does progressive boosting, and most of their abilities is really damaging plus the poison, which, you know, kills units, which is part of a control deck. So that's why that's my opinion as to why I think scoia'tael is such a strong faction in Gwent, because they fit sort of the strong decks that you'll find in most card games, honestly. Like it's like with Hearthstone, the same thing, only obviously it's faster paced, whereas Gwent is slower paced and you have less turns per round or per game. So you every turn kind of is very it's very crucial to get every turn right and the sequencing right, which is something that I really love about this game. So obviously, if you guys disagree, of course, feel free to mention it down in the comment section below. I love to hear your guys' thoughts, and that's why I love doing these videos, to sort of get your guys' take on it, and, you know, what you guys think about, you know, some of the things I say, because sometimes some of the things I could say in your mind could be absolute bullcrap, but, you know, it is what it is. That's the fun of it, so we get to have conversation as well. So that's the thing, that's my take on Harmony. Again, it was hard for me to find 5 specific cards because, like I said, I'm covering quite a bit in this video, but I'm just trying to cover sort of the big elephant in the room. And the next big elephant in the room is scenarios. So scenarios have been a pain, and then they stopped being a pain after Caretaker got changed, with exception of course one, Nilfgaard. Like they did this when they did this when they omitted Yennefer's Invocation for one season, where she could, you know, yoink an artifact, which was pretty ridiculous, because, you know, they wanted to make it so that only neutrals should be able to destroy artifacts, but nope, Nilfgaard sort of got the buy on that one, and Nilfgaard still gets the buy for the scenarios as well with Asir. So I don't know why, like I don't know if like one of the developers is just purposely favoring Nilfgaard just a little bit. Maybe they're trying to do it subtly, but not a good job of it, of course, because Asir is a really big what do you call it? A really big reason as to why Nilfgaard gets to play scenario twice. Now, Asir shouldn't be changed. I think Asir should stay exactly how she is, because I created a deck that let me play Bribery 3 times. Now, much to the dismay of my teammates, I don't hate Bribery. The reason why I don't hate Bribery is because Bribery is good at, obviously, assimilate decks. Like, I'll only ever play Bribery in an assimilate deck because that's what it's meant to do. I will not throw in Bribery at a random deck that should not have Bribery in it. So I will throw in Bribery at a assimilate Nilfgaard deck and nothing else. But Asir is really good for returning cards, because, you know, you can make some pretty, like, just because scenario is ruining Asir doesn't mean that if Asir gets nerfed, then it, you know, you kind of ruin all of the other potential it has. So I genuinely think that scenarios should actually get doomed. The reason why scenario should actually get doomed, because I really feel that if certain factions get to play them more than once versus other factions, then that just makes them a lot more powerful. Obviously, Skellige just recently got well, it's been there for the whole time. It's just that, you know, it's just been recently been founded and recently been played. But I really still think that all scenarios should get doomed. It's a bit interesting, and it kind of sucks too, where it's like just to counter scenarios, if you're seeing a lot of them, you just have to place a random bomb heaver in the deck that literally does nothing else but tech an artifact. Like, what good will it do? It doesn't really do good to anything unless you're running a bandit deck, in which case then bomb heaver would have more than one use, but in which case you're just kind of wasting one one card space in your deck to put in Bomb Heaver. And obviously, if you don't put in Bomb Heaver, then you let the scenarios go crazy and they're just gonna go haywire and they'll just absolutely destroy you. Even worse if you get to play it twice too. So again, that's why Nilfgaard gets most of the hate as well. A lot of it is definitely poison. I don't hate their locking decks, like they're really, like with Imposter, Vatier, like I love that. Like that, I think, is a really good Nilfgaard deck. I love Hyperthin. Hyperthin in Slave 6 is one of my favorite Nilfgaard's decks still to date. Assimilate Nilfgaard, of course, is always fun. I like that RNG aspect of it. Like, I know competitive players hate RNG aspect, but for a memer like me, I love RNG. It's so much fun. Like, you never know what you're gonna get out of it. Well, I wouldn't call myself a memer, more like maybe 45% memer. But anyway, yeah, so that's sort of my take on the two big elephants in the room, which is scenarios and scoia'tael. Other changes. Part of what I see here actually with this new expansion is I'm seeing a lot of monsters. I hope I'm seeing a lot of monster support based on what I'm looking at. So I hope monsters gets a boost because I'm really looking forward to play more monster decks again. I don't know if any new leader abilities are coming out with this one. I actually don't think any leader abilities are coming out with this. Maybe leader skins will come out, like we make like Return of Dagon. I'm gonna think, and I want to hope that Dagon comes back as a skin and not so much as a card, just because Dagon was already a leader, right? So a leader ability in the closed beta. So I would love to get like a Dagon skin or something. That'd be pretty cool. But I think there are just better ideas for cards, which we'll get into later on. So that's sort of my take on sort of the cards. Like, nothing really stands on the top of my head. Apart from those, honestly, like Northern Realms. I mean, Northern Realms has the Uprising, I guess, and that's still super popular, even though its charge still went down to 3, because it's really easy, I think, for Northern Realms to create that boosted swarm and, you know, just get a super powerful Lyrian Scytheman despite the fact it's 3 charges. I'm not gonna lie to you, even if Uprising went down to 2 charges, which is not gonna happen, of course, Lyrian Scytheman will still get a lot of boost, and just because of like just because you can easily create swarms of like Caravan Vanguards, for example, to put on the board with like a Dahlia, reinforcements, you know, just the base 2 copies of Caravan Vanguard themselves. That's already 8 Caravan Vanguards plus Queen of Dahlia, which is a 9th card. So that's actually pretty insane how you can create 9 units in a matter of 4 turns. And it's, again, row wipe is not really common. It's not a common deck you'll see, and it's really, if someone's gonna make a row wipe deck, it's literally just meant to counter swarm decks like Uprising, and it can't really counter anything else. So that's the tough thing with Uprising. How to change Uprising? Honestly, it's gonna be tough. I think Uprising will be staying around for a little bit. Maybe the provision going down to 13, maybe, but that will still make it kind of strong. I'm not gonna lie. So, you know, that one is not as big of an elephant as sort of the poison and the harmony things. Otherwise, you'd see more people banning Uprising. So that's not so much a big elephant, again, as the other two that I mentioned. And I think that's about it I can think of from the back of my head. But the thing with Uprising is I don't hate it because it's kind of part of what Northern Realms is meant to do. Like, you got Royal Inspiration that helps with boosted units, Inspired helps with boosted units. I'd like to see more support for Warfare and, yeah, for Warfare archetype, not so much Siege, but like just the Warfare archetype on its own. Like, I know we got cards like Odrin, like cards with the resupply and all that stuff, but I mean, there's barely, it's as much of a archetype Sieges as what do I think, like beasts in Skellige. Like, they're not that, like, you can make a deck around beasts in Skellige, I guess it's not too good of an example, but I mean, it wouldn't be a good one. So I don't know, that's just my take on it. Again, it's hard to think, because some of this sometimes too, I'm kind of thinking on like right off the top of my head. So this is a bit of an impromptu. Like I said, this wasn't planned. This wasn't on the plan at all. I did not make some sort of like notes for this. I didn't really plan anything, but I had to make it because we are approaching the end of the season. And I don't know with the expansion, I don't know if they're going to change cards with the expansion or if they're going to do an overload change of like a lot of cards, because I honestly think there's a lot of cards that should get changed. I think Necker should still get changed in my opinion, even though I did use them in a recent deck video. Necker should still get changed. If I'm trying to think of cards like off the top of my head that don't get any love that should get some kind of love, you know, apart from Neckers, a lot of monster cards for sure. Like, the main thing with monsters right now, the most popular one I'm noticing is Bloodscent, because Bloodscent really is one of the only decks that can really attack your opponent. Like, my favorite ability, Fruits of Iskith, like, I'm mainly using it to hoard and hoard a lot of power for myself, but I barely have any interaction with the opponent, which is a really valuable aspect of this game, actually, is, you know, being able to attack your opponent's units on the field and such. So I guess that's kind of why monsters always gets a short end of the stick. So I'm hoping with this expansion we sort of get a different side of monsters, sort of one that might help them, you know, boost up a little bit, because at this point I don't think we're going to see any changes where all the factions are going to start going back to the way they were, at least based on their faction description. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say, like right the gist off the top of my head. Again, if I come up with anything else, I'll be talking about it on Discord with sort of the people that are joined there. So like I said, you guys should join me on Discord. You guys get a lot more gems there, so you know. Anyway, moving on to the next topic, we have, of course, the leaked cards. So for this one, I'm gonna sort of open up the browser. So for this particular segment of the video, I'll just be sort of going on the Team Bandit Gang article, just because they kind of cover most of the things that I will be talking about anyway. So yeah, let's get started. So if you guys haven't read yet, Team Bandit Gang, and I think Mercern and BJ might have helped out with this a bit, sort of made an article breaking down sort of everything that happened in the Gwent Open tournament. So I really suggest you guys should give this a read. It's a pretty interesting read. It sort of covers sort of like the gist, like it's kind of the Sparks notes of everything that happened in the Gwent. Oh, here it says here collaboration. Also, it was written by BJ, helping out with Ian, Mercern, and BP. So yeah, make sure you guys give this a read. It was really interesting read. There are a couple but the thing I'm really most interested, like you guys get to see the deck list, like if you guys want to check out what decks they're playing. You will notice that if you are playing towards the end of the season that you'll see more decks similar to these, if not a bit tweaked in a sense, I guess, to fit the meta. But you will see more decks like this because obviously it's a big tournament. You see some of the best players in the world playing these decks. So it's like, okay, maybe I'll give these decks a try. Maybe it'll boost me up the ladder. But for me, I'm afraid the climb for me is over. This is what we're interested in. This, oh yeah, you got more decks list here. Santu, finalist, congrats to him for making it so far. And Andy, way to represent, guys, good job. Shocking interview with Pablo. I haven't watched this yet. Maybe I'll watch it just for fun. Yeah, so they kind of covered it, like here, quarterfinal, semis, final. So I think they did the bracket picture for everything. Yes, they did. But the thing we're here is for these three and that one picture on top. So that's kind of why I'm here. And also just to sort of show you guys the article as well, if you guys want to have a read. This one is a bit interesting. I was doing some reading at work. Sort of, I went back to the Witcher lore because I feel like that's what's going to help me sort of have a little bit of an idea of what these cards could be, what these cards could do. And the first one here is interesting, and they do sort of do a bit of a caption as to what the card is, or like what it could be, or like what it depicts, so that, you know, you can have a bit of an idea. This one, it's commonly said that, like, there's been a dispute with this one. This card either refers to the squirrel or it refers to the owl. When I'm thinking about it with Witcher lore, the only owl I really know, like when I look up the word owl, there are two things, main things. One is the tawny owl, which is a potion. So this is obviously not a potion, so I don't think it's going to be the tawny owl. The second one is an owl. I believe Philippa can transform into an owl, I think. But this owl doesn't look anything like her. So I actually think this picture is more emphasizing the squirrel as opposed to the owl. I think this is a scoia'tael card. And probably because, and then most of that's probably saying just because like it could be the squirrel that could be seen in the art of Eorvith's Gambit. This is the same squirrel. If you guys see Eorvith's Gambit, is Eorvith sort of sitting in a tree, relaxing himself, and with a brown squirrel on top. Looks similar to this one. Again, most squirrels look the same, but there's a specific reason why this has been turned into an art. So my guess is there has to be something either lore related, or maybe they just, you know, made something up, I guess. If this is going to be a squirrel card, I want to assume that this could be like sort of a lure kind of card. That would be guess number one. This could be a lure card. So I guess in the sense that would be a trap card. So let's say like if a unit enters the field, then maybe something happens to it. Then that could be guess number one. Guess number two is it could have something to do with movement, like we've seen with Dryad Matron. It moves to the end. It moves to the end and it boots the unit to the right by one. What I'm interested with the squirrel is maybe the squirrel could have a unique kind of ability where it's like you place it onto the field and then it boosts it by the amount of cards to its left. So it's kind of like a very weaker version of the Great Oak, where obviously Great Oak damages a unit equal to the amount of cards to its left, and then boost it equal to the amount of cards to its right. Squirrel could be sort of a weaker version of that, but I don't think this is going to be a gold card. I think this will be a bronze card, because I didn't exactly recall anything special about, you know, a squirrel in the game, so I don't see this being a gold card at all. In terms of provision, I can see it between the 4 to 6 range in provisions. And yeah, so that's really all I can say about it. Not so much. I'm just trying to analyze the art just to see. Next we have her. So this, I'm gonna assume this is Skellige because she screams Nordic, she screams Viking theme, stuff like that. What I actually would like to see is Skellige working with death blows, just because, you know, they're savage, bloodthirsty warriors. I think death blow would be a good keyword that they can have, where if they destroy a unit by damage, they can do something. Obviously, that kind of defeats the purpose of what Skellige does, because again, Wild Boar of the Sea is meant to hit damage units. Hjalmar destroys, no, not Hjalmar, what's his name, Vabjorn destroys a damaged unit. So if you have a unit with death blow, maybe that's sort of almost anti-synergetic to the Skellige faction. But I think because of like their bloodthirsty warriors, like I would expect, you know, I would like to see a couple cards with death blow. As to what she does, I'm gonna have no idea. I don't know if she's gonna be a gold or bronze, but I don't recall seeing what she looks like in any sort of the main characters, or at least like semi-important characters. And then again, I haven't played Witcher in a little bit, so like who knows, right? I could be completely wrong. The one I'm the most confident in, even though I'm not that confident, is this. This, if I can venture a guess as to what this card is gonna be, I think this is going to be the Fuuka. So what's a Fuuka? What on earth are you talking about? There is a small entry in The Witcher about a Fuuka, which are considered to be the cousins of Neckers. They're stronger, they can act alone, which is kind of key here because Neckers attack in groups. They don't attack alone, they attack in groups. The Fuuka can attack on its own because it has the ability to sort of manipulate creatures to do their own bidding. It's gold, it's a golden Necker, so it's like, you know, humans could be attracted to gold, so maybe they use that as sort of inspiration as to why it's colored gold. And the Fuuka has the ability to transform. At least, I don't know if this is true in The Witcher, but this is true based on the mythology that the Fuuka is based off of. So what this thing is based off of in real life mythology, that's what's what's inspiring this art. This thing is sitting like a gargoyle. So maybe that's sort of the way to interpret the fact that it can transform. That's my guess. And if I can make up an ability for this thing, I came up with 7 provision unit. I don't think this Necker is going to be ultra powerful because again, this thing's true power really doesn't come from its strength. It comes from its ability to, like, sort of a magical ability, a psychological, mental ability. So I think it's going to be a relatively weak unit, but it's going to have a very powerful ability. And what I would give it is 7 provisions, 3 power. It has Thrive. When this unit gets destroyed, if it's 5 or less, if it's less than 5 power, you boost an ally by 6. If it's 5 or more power, you damage a unit by 6. And the reason why I'm saying that sounds like Parasite, and that's because they mentioned in the entry page that this card has parasitic ability. So I sort of just did a wordplay on that one. So that's sort of my take, and again, this is the most confident of what I think this card will be named. Probably not the ability, because I kind of just made that up on the spot, but not on the spot, but like I thought about it, but then, you know, who knows. But I think this could be the Fuuka. It's, again, not a lot of mention to it was made, but that's what I'm thinking. And the last one, this one gives me a lot of PTSD because this is Ethereal. For those of you who don't know Ethereal, this is Iris's nightmare. The boss that you fight in Hearts of Stone, Iris's nightmare, it's this thing. And it takes the shape of Olgierd's face, but this one has its face covered, either that or it's just turning away from you. So I don't think it's going to be as powerful as we think it is, just because of, look how it's postured. Like, it doesn't look like, it's almost like old Spear Tip's asleep form. I don't think this is sort of like the awakened version of itself. Maybe they'll come up with a more powerful version. Maybe this will be similar to, maybe this will be the neutral version of old Spear Tip Awake, maybe stuff like that. But I don't think that, you know, this is sort of its full power, at least just based on its posture and how it's looking. In terms of what it is, I'm gonna guess this is a neutral card because a lot of the cards that have come out of Hearts of Stone so far have been neutral cards, like Olgierd's neutral, Iris is neutral, Caretaker's neutral, even though Caretaker could have been a monster, but Iris's companions are neutral. I think this is gonna fall into the category of neutral. Now what it does, I don't know. I could see it being a tall removal card just because of how powerful it was. I could see it as being sort of a manipulative card where maybe it messes with a player's hand or something, or with the deck, I'm not sure. But, and But yeah, so I'm actually not quite sure what this does, but that's what I'm thinking right now. But this is definitely ethereal. And that's sort of all the card art leaks that have been shown. Obviously, we're not going to know more until, speaking of, let's go straight to it. Let's go straight to this countdown. So this countdown is very interesting. Let me move my webcam here for a second. That is not the webcam. Where's my webcam? Because I'm covering part of, here we go. I'll come down here for a second. So this is the last thing we're going to cover. We have 1 hour and 1 day and 9 hours left, which is not that far off. The most interesting points here are obviously the fog, this rock, and these two floating creatures. Now this one's obviously a humanoid of sorts. It could be human, could be a drowner, who knows, but it's a humanoid for sure. And this one isn't. I don't think this is a humanoid, unless, wait, no, I think that is a human. Okay, let's take a closer look. Here's the thing, right? And now when I really think about it, why can't I zoom? Oh, because maybe I'm trying to go to the right more, but I guess it won't let me. That could be a woman, that could be hair, that could be, I think those could be legs, and that might be the arm. So, that kind of changes my perspective on things, because that might not be a creature at all. That might be another humanoid. Huh, interesting. So, whatever this is depicting, either this could be the afterlife of the Witcher, which I don't think we know much about, but right now the guess is, I think the biggest guess right now is that it has something to do with Mehrunes Dagon, which obviously makes sense because not Mehrunes Dagon, what am I saying? That's Skyrim. Because Dagon itself works with weather, more specifically fog. I don't know if you guys, for those of you guys who are new, you probably don't know about this, but in the closed beta or open beta, there was a monsters weather deck that was really powerful. Foglets were really powerful there as well. And yeah, and weather used to last the entire round. And there was one point where it was even back at the Witcher 3 weather where you were able to, where all units power went down to 1. So that was actually very powerful as well. But now that I think about it, I think that's a human. I think that's a lady. I don't think that's a creature. But anyway, that's just me sort of speculating there. Yeah, so what I could think this is, I don't know. I'm definitely seeing sort of horror themes on this for sure. So maybe they're sort of touching up more on like the deities of the game. Like again, Dagon. I hope Gontor Dim gets a little bit of support, I guess. Like imagine if they made maybe a card like that has something to do with sort of the location that you go to in Hearts of Stone with him where he solves a riddle. Like who knows? We can really only speculate about this, so I don't know if they're going to the afterlife or if they're being levitated by some sort of creature that has the ability to do that to people. But the fog and the rock, I think, are very key. But I think this is a human. I don't think this is a creature now that I see it. Now that I take a closer look, I think those are legs. But anyway, that's pretty much all I can say. Again, I can't say too much until, you know, because I've been reading posts and stuff and like not a lot, like my guess is as good as everyone else's. Unless you guys, of course, have some guesses in mind, then definitely do let me know in the comment section as always. And I think that'll be the end of this very long update video. So if you guys made it this far, thank you so much for listening to me ramble on for half an hour. And, you know, hope you guys learned a little bit of something, and maybe you guys can tell me a bit of something about this that you guys might know. Be sure to put them in the description, comment section below. And if you guys have anything that you'd probably disagree with me on, you know, talk to me about it. All good. I can take criticism. I can take, you know, stuff like that, opinions very well. So yeah, that'll be the end of it. If you guys made it this far, that'd be great. Leave a like if you guys did enjoy this video. Of course, comment on any, you know, anything about this video I talked about you guys want to touch up on. And of course, subscribe for more Gwent content. And other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.